Reporting live down in the Maysville News Center, KBD, the artist known as Mr. Big were to be released from prison today and has caused an uproar in the prison system. I had a chance to speak to him today, and I asked him, why did you do the thing
about my
you did?
face, man. I don't
You'll
have
be
no
revoked
comments. I don't want to talk
They
to
say they have new
nobody.
evidence.
Will y'all please let me go home in peace, man? I just want to be with my family, man. Don't give me no trouble, man. If you want to know what happened, just pay attention and listen to what I'm saying. I started selling back in 1986. I bought a Cadillac and put the things all around it. The brains blowed out with the white leather seats. Fever feeding for that butter, cause that other cream week. I was only 17, had the neighborhood hooked. Had them stealing out their crib, cause my cream tastes like ribs. I'm up in the morning with the rest of these rookies. You out here selling them food, I'm out here selling them cookies. I'm flying out of town, getting them things for 12, 400 for about 650 when it's dry. Pyrex dishes scattered all around the kitchen. Word around town, Mr. Big got them chickens. That fool bought a house for his mom by the lake and gave his grandma the keys to the safe. Them jealous young bosses and them tricks start hating. They see my little sister drive a Benz to graduation. I'm tripping on it and I'm smoking on them. I still got love for my people selling them. I remember when I used to do the same stuff. If I had my put it up and sold the block up. I can't put my up. My is my baby, and my baby got you busters going crazy. Which one of you crazy young clowns wanna harm me? I said you better bring the Navy, cause I'm about to bring the Army.
You will be tried by a jury of your peers.
You got to make a plan, cause them laws is on my back. They know I'm booming, and they know I'm booming. They know about the down payments on my third house. They know about the diamond in my little sister mouth. They know about the beans in the black Pathfinder. They know about the vacation trip I took to China. They know about the mama I was freaking named Kathy. Percy got busted with a bird in Tallahassee. And now they trying to say that they belong to me. I know they trying to get me cause these clowns keep holding their on me. Dinky suits and bulletproofs and steel toes. No fake young busters, only some real whore. I pack my clothes cause it's time for me to go. I'm getting tired of them kicking in my mall door. And even though they don't find nothing, they still talking. Asking questions saying, baby, how you bought these cars? How the hell you don't work or drive different cars? We got you on the interstate in a Jaguar. Where the in the we'll let you go if you tell us where your son at, baby. I don't know nothing. Light it up and type it up and tell the DA get ready cause we gon' strike it up. Mama call my lawyer cause it's time to go to trial. I'm down in New Orleans with my auntie and my granny. The clean side of this Mr. Big family. They know I'm on the run, so I can't use the phone. My son and my daughter, they don't even know I'm gone. Left my mama 20,000 for my babies in the beer money. I'm in the attic smoking cause I think this thing is still funny. Make them kill me or turn myself in. Man, I'm facing life in the federal pen. The DA wanna see me fry, bringing clowns back from the pen to testify. Yeah, I bought from him, yeah, he sold me some. Man, he telling no.
Power to the people, man. We back to do this maintenance. I said power to the people, man. I'm back to do my maintenance. Shit, I'm about to rock like crack when it came in. You dig? You dig? I'm about to rock like crack when it came in. First off, I want to thank the YouTube delegation for sliding on through here with your boy tonight. Y'all ain't seen him in over 2 years. But for this one, I got to bring back Trent Cochran on the case. So, the topic of tonight, because it was sent to me, for those folks who are watching, who got enough courage to get about the bushes, which one do y'all want to get in, the order and decision, or do y'all want to get to the sentencing memorandum first? Okay? Do y'all want to get to the order and decision or the sentencing memorandum first? We're going to go through the sentencing memorandum. Fuck it. Y'all save it. All right. So, this is the government sentencing memorandum is 37 pages. I'm gonna try to get done with this in an hour. It's probably gonna take me a little bit more, but I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible. So now, people say, which way you coming? Okay. First off, man, I'm always gonna side with the criminals. Okay. I grew up in these streets. Um, Hold on. I need some background music. I was born in these streets, raised in these streets, taught in these streets, hustled in these streets, sold rooks in these streets, nicks in these streets, fuck bitches in these streets. Yea, though I walk through the valley of these streets, I shall not fear these streets, cause I run it. Nigga, hold on. We gotta get some background music. Gotta get that. All right, I just had to summons the energy. I had to summons the energy to crack this case open, man. Once again, uh, for those of y'all who are just now coming in, man, it's the epic return of Trent Cochran on the case. Okay. All right, Trent Cochran on the case. All right, so let's get into this, man. Let's really read this case. All right. Robert Kelly is a serial sexual predator who, over the course of many years, specifically targeted young girls and went to great lengths to conceal his abuse of Jane and other minor victims. To this day, and even following the jury verdict against him, Kelly refuses to accept responsibilities for his crimes. To the contrary, Kelly brazenly blames his victims and argued that his abuse of 14, 15, and 16-year-old girls was justified because some of his victims, as minors, wanted to pursue a romantic and sexual connection with him, and others remained in contact with him as adults. At the age of 56 years old, Kelly's lack of remorse and failure to grasp the gravity of his criminal conduct against children demonstrate that he poses a serious danger to society. First, we got to stop right there. We got to stop right there. Okay. The first problem with this that the government is saying, right, that we're going to go back and we are going to highlight that. The problem with this whole first paragraph is that these are not the statements of R. Kelly himself. All right. These ain't the statements of R. Kelly himself, okay? As a matter of fact, uh, this is the legalese of Jennifer Bonjean. All right, so that's the first thing. Everything you read from the beginning to here, this is Jennifer Bonjean. They say that they wanted to pursue a romantic relationship. Okay, this is the way that his legal counsel chose to argue this. All right, so they can't hold that against him. I mean, what other defense is he going to have? Kelly goes so far as to insinuate that he and not the young girls he abused is the victim because the government elected to prosecute him for egregious conduct that occurred throughout the United States over 20 years. Standing alone, a sentence of 300 months imprisonment appropriately uh, accounts for the indescribable harm defendant has caused to Jane, Pauline, and Nia. Okay, so for over 20 years. Okay, we're going to keep moving on. Such a sentence is required to protect Kelly's would-be victims, and it's a sufficient but not greater than necessary to meet the goals of sentencing. All right, I'm going to bring my other channel into this. All right, okay. Okay, so, all right, so now let's see here. Such a sentence is required to protect Kelly's would-be victims, and it's sufficient but not greater than necessary to meet the goals of sentencing. Okay, all right, we're gonna keep going on. A lot of this is descriptive, so some of the descriptive stuff that's not arguments, I'm not gonna really get into that. Between 96 and 01, Kelly repeatedly sexually abused young girls, including Jane, Pauline, and Nia. At trial, each victim testified in detail about the abuse they suffered. The victim's testimony is summarized in the government's version of the offense. The transcripts of the testimony were attached to exhibits. See government exhibit A, Jane's trial testimony, M, Pauline's trial testimony, L, Nia's trial testimony. Okay, so this is the problem. This is the problem. Okay, between 96 and 01. Okay, and so this is what they would call disjointed. All right, because pretty much that don't that does not agree with this. All right, when they saying okay, well, it's no remorse. This is a 5-year time span. That's over 20 years ago. That's 22 years ago, and it says that he's a serial sexual predator, and over the course of many years, he targeted young girls and went to great lengths to conceal their crime. Right. So that timeline, you have to show continuance, right? You got to show continuance. All right. The victim's testimony is summarized in the government's version of the offense, and the transcripts of their testimonies were attached as exhibits. See government, Jane's trial testimony. Okay. All right. They already said that. In 96 and 97, when Jane was about 13 years old, she was introduced to Kelly by her aunt. Okay. So this is also problematic because comment. Okay. All right. Okay. So you got why. Okay. Why is not a cold conspirator? So, okay, I'm gonna close that back on up. All right, now at that time, Jane was a musician herself. We gonna highlight that. Okay. All right. Now, this is problematic because, okay. We're going to say musician. Okay. We got to put several question marks by their description of her as a musician, because if she's a musician, then okay, she was sexually involved with a Grammy award winning artist for okay. She was sexually involved with a Grammy award winning artist for over 20 years. Okay. And she doesn't have a sound cloud or an iTunes account. Um, her her father was a Grammy award winning guitarist. All right, so when they describe her as a musician, they gonna have to explain how they get to musician when her father had a Grammy, R. Kelly had a Grammy, but she don't have a SoundCloud. She don't got an iTunes account. Is there a YouTube, a verified YouTube account, or we can go, check her out. Jane was inspired by music and saw a future career for herself in the music industry. Jane's aunt was also a singing musician, and in addition to being romantically involved with Kelly, Jane's aunt worked with him musically. Okay, again. All right. Okay. Musically, okay. Uh, okay. 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 So, um, let's see here. Okay. Okay. Give me a second, y'all, because looking up okay. So this kind of gets into something deeper because in this specific piece right here, Sparkle, this highlighted piece right here, this last highlighted piece that you see prior to the ID 715. Sparkle is the aunt that worked musically, but she was a co-conspirator. And so when you are talking about conspiracy, then uh you have several cases in appeals court. In appeals court, it don't matter what they trying to sentence him to. It really don't matter what they trying to sentence him to. Hold on, let me go back and check y'all comments. Hey, what's going on, Lil Mo? No support. The judge denied it. Seems like she denied everything. Well, listen, Corey Simmons. Yeah, Lil Mo with that group for the cause, all of that shit, that's years ago when again, when they're saying okay, she was a musician and things like that. No, she came over there, she did those things, okay. And you can argue, see, the thing of it is that they could try to argue, okay, she has Stockholm syndrome. But Stockholm syndrome is one thing when the girl, okay, they started having sex when she was 13. Now she's 21, 22. But Rashona is damn near 40 years old at this point. The girl is damn near 40 years old. So, or as a matter of fact, shit, she was, yeah, she 40 years old. So um trying to argue all of these things or whatever again, the attorneys failed. Okay. They failed to make a resolute and a succinct case about um about Rashona. Okay, specifically. All right. They failed to make a resolute case because basically what they are saying is, what's happening is that they did not dispute this shit hard enough. All right, so when they are referring to her as a Okay, when they are referring to her as a musician, first off, when you had when these folks are arguing these cases, the number one thing that they should have the problem is that they tried to keep up that whole they try to keep up that whole rules of R. Kelly's 100% innocent. He is this is despicable that they would even describe him as. That was a losing argument. That was a bad argument point for the lawyers to take, right? They should have came in off the gate and argued he was a sexual deviant. Okay. They should have argued he was a sexual deviant. And he was no different than other rock stars at the time. And you throw all of them up under the bus. You know, he's no different than Steven Tyler, than Elvis Presley, than Jerry what's the dude name? Bam, hot balls of fire. Jerry, what the fuck is the guy's name? His name is Jerry something. But they should have argued he was a sexual deviant and he had many young girls. As you know, hey, it was, you know, hey, these claims are true. You know, these claims are true. Yes, you gonna see video depictions of Jerry Lee Lewis. Okay, yeah, these claims are true, right? They should have never tried to deny this. That was the first. Okay, the first mistake is that you have to take their oh damn away from them, right? So the way you do that is okay, yeah, he was there, yeah, but listen, you know, this guy, he's a rock star. He feels like the world is his. Is he arrogant? Yeah. Is he egotistical? Yeah. Is he solipsistic? Yeah. Is he narcissistic? Yeah. But is this right? Okay. Is this right? All right. And so when they talk about, okay, the aunt bought her to work with him musically, the aunt was there, the father was there, she came, you know, he would leave, she would come back. All right. Now, moving along, Jane was very close to her aunt, admired her, looked up to her to help foster a close relationship between Jane and Kelly. Now, if she was so close to the aunt, if she admired the aunt, this same aunt went on a Breakfast Club and denied all of this. She denied all of this. 20 years later, after divorce from her husband, she went onto a national broadcasting platform and denied all of these things. Okay. She denied all of these things. So now you saying under oath that these things are true. Okay, so then you had a defense team that didn't call any witnesses. The R. Kelly defense team was supposed to call Sparkle to the stand to testify as a hostile witness. Okay, then that's the first thing, right? That's the first mistake. Okay. All right. So she wanted to foster a relationship. She admired her aunt, looked up to her aunt. Okay. Sparkle, bring your ass down here. And we gonna get Sparkle on the stand. We gonna tear her ass up. Even if she wanna deny it, bitch, we gonna put them grips to you. All right. because what you need her to say on the stand is she was either lying on the Breakfast Club, or if she substantiates what Rashona's claim is, then you then get to ask her the follow-up question, which is, okay, so did you think that it was wrong that this is happening? Because shit, if I'm the lawyer, I'm fucking Rashana up, man. If I'm the lawyer, I'm fucking her up. Shit, hey. All right, so you didn't see anything wrong with it. Okay, where your mom at? Mama, y'all ain't see. All right, cool. Now, Jane instructed her to visit Orchard to sit on his lap, rub his head, ask him to be her godfather. And he said yes. Okay. So, everybody with hustle, man, you know what that is. Okay. The auntie came over there setting the girl out. She came over there setting the girl out. And if my defense for this shit, I would have came at this shit a whole nother way. I would have said, listen, at that time, the defendant was going through marital problems, and he was partaking in a lot of services of prostitutes. By the time he found out that this girl was 14 years old, they had already began a sexual relationship. By the time he found out that she was 14, they already had a sexual relationship going on. Because the thing that they did here was they kind of, the legal team really left the jury with no other decision but to find him guilty, because it's not so much about what's written on this paper, but it's about how you present it. That's why it's called a legal argument. So it would have been, yeah. Well, hey, they got me on that. But what I'm not here to argue the facts against the evidence. Of course, the facts of the evidence is what they seem to be. But this side of the story is this. Listen, it says right here, okay? It says right here, she was inspired by music, saw a future for herself. The aunt, who also was a singer, and she was romantically involved, she bought another hoe to him. And I gotta call it what it is. She bought another hoe to him. All right, and you can have her. Hey, you can have her. You already know what that is, okay? You are any dude that had any level of weight out in the streets. If you ever had any level of weight out in the streets, you know what that is, man. Hey, cool. When a chick that's a little bit past her prime, where she knows she can't bust it like she need to, she can't do the things that she's supposed to be doing no more, because hoeing has an expiration date. And we talk about this all the time, but being a hoe has an expiration date. So when a hoe is starting to get long in the tooth, man, she'll bring, she may not be able to be what you need as far as to fulfill your sexual desires, but she can bring you somebody who can do it, i.e. still maintaining her value, even though she's not able to fulfill your needs, okay? All right, so now, shortly thereafter, he exploited this relationship and began sexually abusing his goddaughter. Exploited. Okay. All right. This is probably why he, he needed some black lawyers. All right. He needed some black lawyers, and all of this shit. It should have. Some of this stuff should have been tossed out of there very early on. He began sexually abusing his goddaughter. Well, hold on. Is she the goddaughter? Because again, when you come in rubbing a man's head, I mean, come on, bro. Can you be my daddy? Because he said my goddaughter, but can you be my daddy? Come on, man. Come on now. Come on. Kelly established an ostensible bond with Jane. And at first, we talked to her about the things they had in common, such as basketball and music. Then he steered his conversations to become sexual. He would ask her things like, "What color panties are you wearing?" And talk to her about how her breasts are growing. Kelly progressed the talks to phone sex, where he would tell Jane that he was masturbating during her calls. This occurred within weeks of him becoming her godfather. She was just 14 years old. Stop right there. Stop right there. Okay. How does this escalate from sitting on the lap, rubbing his head to have sex to full, you know what I'm saying, to full blown phone sex within weeks? That timeline, you know what I'm saying, it's no cause for concern. Jane first testified at first she wasn't sure how to respond, but she just went with the flow because he was an adult and authoritative figure over her at that time. Okay, an authoritative figure over her. Okay, so now with this right there, the reason why they put that phrasing in there is because they trying to show where he had dominance. But then you have to ask the question, for him to be an authoritative figure to her, how was he an authoritative figure if you don't go to the studio? How is she getting into contact with the man? Okay. She just went through with the flow because he was an adult, authoritative figure over her. Again, how do we get to a situation where this bitch is in close enough contact for him to become an authoritative figure over her? Okay? With that sentence right there, that's the chemical equivalent to going to the library and saying, well, I'm sorry. That's synonymous with saying, hey, I was sexually abused by a librarian when I was 14 years old. Common sense tells you, even as a 14-year-old, I'm not going there if I don't want that, okay? I'm not going there if I don't want that. And again, when they saying it was just weeks, my argument would have been, dude, we didn't know how old this bitch was until we get to the point where it's undeniable that she's 14. I don't give a fuck. we're going to argue with the, hey, man, when I met her, I thought she was grown. Okay, I thought she was grown. All right. The way when we started having sex, she was giving me some mood, you know what I'm saying? She was doing some things to me I've never had done before. All right, now. Kelly's conversation about sex progressed to physical touching and rubbing. Then, when Jane was still just 14, Kelly induced her to perform oral sex on him, and he performed oral sex on her. At this time, to facilitate their sexual encounter, he was also giving her alcohol and showing her pornography. Okay, whatever. When she turned 15, he took her virginity and began having penetrative sexual intercourse with her. Again, this is the failure of the, because what happens is one of the failures is you have to get to the point, man, where you lock in a timeline. And one of the things that his legal team failed to do was lock the government into an actual date and an actual timeline. Okay, was she 14 or was she 15? Because he took her virginity at 15 and began having penetrative sexual intercourse. How do you have a porno tape referring to 14-year-old pussy, man? How do you have a sex tape at referring to 14-year-old pussy and then say he took the virginity at 15? Was it 14 or 15? Now, this continued for years, all while Jane remained a minor. Kelly had sexual intercourse with her hundreds of times before she turned 18. At his homes, his studios, tour buses, hotels, ID. Again, how did she get there? How did she get there? The two co-defendants were acquitted. So how did she get there? Did R. Kelly go pick her up? How did she get there? But his criminal conduct against young girls is not limited to Jane. When she was 14 and 15, he asked her to invite friends her same age to engage in this sexual activity. Responding to his urging, Jane invited others, Pauline and Brittany, who were also minors at the time. Kelly engaged Jane in threesomes with Pauline multiple times when Jane was 15 and 18 years old, and multiple times with Brittany during that same period. During these interactions, he would instruct these girls to kiss each other, grab each other's breasts, grind on each other, and ultimately engage in oral sex and other acts. Okay, all right. Sound like a good time to me. I ain't gonna lie to you. For Kelly, abusing these minors was not enough. Kelly sought to memorialize his sexual exploitations of them. To do so, he recorded his sexual encounters with Jane using a camcorder. She was just 14 years old. The first time he produced child pornography. So, again, was she 14 or was she 15? 14 or 15? 14 or 15? Okay. Featuring this abuse of her, the recording sessions continued and eventually included tapes 1, 2, 3, each of which were viewed by the jury at trial and lead to Kelly's conviction on counts 1, 2, and 3. Jane testified video 1 depicts a sexual encounter between herself and the log cabin room at Kelly's home. It's 26 minutes long. At the beginning of the video, Kelly is alone and testing the camera angle to make sure it's positioned to have a clear shot of Jane. In the next frame, he hands her cash and then instructs her to perform oral sex. Okay. hands her. Okay, all right. That's a problem right there. Jane testified he handed her money because if anybody saw the tape of it was released, they wanted her to appear like a prostitute. That is the problem. Okay. That's the problem. He handed her money because if anybody saw the tape, he wanted it to appear that she was a prostitute. Um, yeah, that other page got a copyright strike on it because of the silverback and the cokehead bitch named Sharon Winbush Capricorn. The next line in the transcript shows the government asking the court for a break because at this point, Jane was sobbing on the stand, reliving the tragic events as she described them to the jury. Again, she's sobbing on the stand, reliving the traumatic events, but was she so distraught that she didn't ask for a lifetime voucher for Section 8? Again, um, hey, with respect to the crimes that's done, we not here to argue emotions. All right, because hey, these are traumatic events, but these traumatic events did not stop. They did not stop when she turned 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Okay? They did not stop at that time. 33, 34, 35. 30, you know what I'm saying? I mean, she was about 36, and this shit was still going on. Now, video one shows her dancing in front of a hot tub in a room. She's completely naked. Video one then shows Kelly simulating sexual intercourse with Jane while sitting on the bench adjacent to the hot tub. Then Jane performs oral sex. He ejaculates, then urinates in her mouth and on the rest of her body throughout the recording. Jane calls Kelly daddy as he instructed her to. Okay. I don't know about the pissing in the mouth thing, but again, sound like a good time to me. I ain't gonna lie to you. Sound like a fucking good time to me. Uh, Jane testified the video 2 depicts a sexual intercourse between herself and Kelly in the living room of Kelly's home. Video 2 is 21 minutes long. Jane testified that the sexual encounter took place on the floor, lying on the tile in front of a projector screen. Video 2 shows pornography playing on the screen. Jane testified during this recorded encounter. He gave her Cristal champagne, performed oral sex on her, and urinated on her vagina. Okay, pissed in the pussy. Um, I hope he gave her some money to get some bacterial vaginosis. And she cleaned that pussy out. All right. Kelly also asked her to refer to her body part as her 14-year-old vagina, which she did. Video 2 depicts Kelly giving and receiving oral sex with Jane. Kelly also inserts his fingers in her ass and urinates on her. Both Kelly and Jane are naked throughout the video, several times during which Kelly gets up and adjusts the video camera to ensure the scenes of his abuse are properly captured. Each time he zooms closer during the recording and instructs Jane on how to position her body and act for the camera. Kelly and Jane repeatedly refer to her age as 14 years old. For example, he instructs Jane to say to him, "Lick that 14-year-old pussy." Jane obeys and repeats after Kelly. Okay. That's not a rumor, Lumo. That was true. Jane testified that video 3 depicts a sexual encounter between herself and R. Kelly in the main bedroom of Kelly's home. The video 3 is 21 minutes long. She testified that sex acts included oral sex, simulating sexual intercourse on the bed, receiving oral and manual sexual Jane, simulating sexual intercourse with her, as the videos 1 and 2. Jane is just 14 years old in the video, although it appears to precede the others. The fact is confirmed Jane's action and language in the video as Kelly provides more direction, reinforcing Jane's unfamiliarity with Kelly's sexual command. Jane said, you're gonna stick it in this pussy one day when it's wide open for you, daddy. Kelly told Jane to talk louder, and she repeated, when it get wide open for you, daddy. You said if I keep practicing, daddy. Okay. So at this point, come on now. At this point, man. At the, man, we know what this shit is, man. At this point, dog. Come on. Come on, man. Okay, he instructed her. He might have instructed her to call him daddy, but you said you gonna stick it in this pussy one day when it get wide open for you. Come on, man. She, come on, man. Come on. Where Boosie at when you need him? Come on, man. All right. Kelly adjusts the video camera and gives James instructions on how to position her body and act for the camera. One time, for example, Kelly tells James to stick her chest out, and he says, where the camera can see it, don't move. Jane testified that she was uncomfortable with the sexual encounters with Kelly, including the phone sex, the oral sex, and intercourse, the threesomes, and Kelly recording him. But she didn't know how to say no to her godfather, an authoritative figure in her life. She testified that over time and repetition, sexual contact became normal to her. So at this point, they should have called. At this point they should have called an expert witness, right? At this point right here, they needed to call during this line right here, they needed to call an expert witness. And the reason why come they needed to call an expert witness is because they need what needed to happen right here is that they needed to separate how much of this was the abuse, right? And how much of this is a normal reaction of a woman having sex for the first time. Okay, when she said, I didn't know how to say no to her, but over time, the sexual contact became normal. As somebody who has taken a one, a few different women's virginity in my younger days, right? Nothing sounds to me that don't really sound like abuse, okay? It don't sound like abuse. It don't sound like abuse. As a matter of fact, she didn't know how to say no to her godfather, an authoritative figure in her life. She testified over time and repetition. Again, we would have had to ask, How are you getting here? How are you repeatedly getting in the same space? Is he coming to pick you up from school? There you go. How could he be her godfather? They having relations. It's more like a sugar daddy. Right. How are y'all getting into these spaces? Because the government only said one time Sparkle is the one that made the initial contact. Okay, so we'll concede to that. Sparkle got you there the first time. But how are you getting back? How are you getting back? Make sure that y'all like the video, subscribe, share it. Make sure that y'all sharing this out to some of the other mods and stuff like that. Make sure that y'all are sharing it out to some of the other mods, okay? Now, a few years later, okay, after Kelly began abusing Jane, video one was leaked. This happened around late 2001 when Kelly's career was reaching new heights. In 1998, Kelly performed his hit song "I Believe I Can Fly" at the Grammy Awards. In February 2002, he performed at the closing ceremony at the Winter Olympics. In other words, he had a lot to lose. Okay, so what that's doing is that's giving stakes. Okay, they're creating the stakes that's around these things, right? So they're creating stakes. All right. According to Jane and her parents, Brandon and Susan, by early 2002, when Jane was still a minor at age 17, the public, the media, law enforcement had become aware of video one. When questioned, Jane told her parents the truth. Kelly began engaging her in sex acts. By this time, Kelly had already directed Jane not to tell anybody, including the police, about his relationship and abuse with her. Kelly's careers on the rise, secrecy became paramount. In 2002, Jane and her parents received subpoenas to testify before Cook County grand jury. Jane and Brandon told Kelly about the subpoenas. Now, hold on. We have to go back to here. Okay. All right. So according to the testimony, and I want to see how many of y'all out there are following like I'm following. These sexual acts began in either 96 or 97. Then we get to 2002, early 2002. So let's just call it 2001. So your daughter is getting fucked by a grown man for 4 years and you don't suspect nothing. You don't suspect nothing. She's getting dicked down by a grown nigga for 4 years. And she's not moody. She's not popping up with stuff that a 14-year-old ain't supposed to have. Because as somebody with daughters, you know what I'm saying? As a man who has, 2 daughters, okay, my daughters are different than my boys, okay? So you don't notice a change in your daughter? I'm just saying, nigga, fuck all that. I trust my kids like this much. Fuck that. I'm renting a car. I'm borrowing one of my partner's cars. I'm following this hoe. Okay? both of my daughters, my 17-year-old and my 5-year-old. I'm following them hoes. Shit. I'm seeing where the fuck they going. Fuck you mean? You ain't noticed the video got released, and that's the first time. And number one, this the first time. This don't say nothing about how they beat motherfucking Sparkle ass, because I'm gonna tell you right now. One of my baby mama's sisters took one of my daughters and groomed her to have some old nigga fucking her. I'ma smack the bitch. That's on everything I love. Now, when question, all right, so we're gonna go here. In 2002, her parents received subpoenas. According to Brandon, after the subpoenas were issued, he had a meeting with Daryl McDavid, Kelly's longtime business manager. David arranged for an attorney to represent Jane, Brandon, and Susan in connection with the state grand jury proceedings. During the meeting, McDavid told Brandon, as part of his testimony, he was going to have to watch the video showing Kelly having sex with his daughter. McDavid knew that video showed Kelly and Jane having sex, but McDavid instructed Brandon to testify he did not recognize the people on the video. Brandon later told Susan what McDavid instructed her to do. Brandon and Susan were scared to go against Kelly's power, money, and influence, and felt pressure to go along with Kelly. And they did. Brandon and Susan lied to the state grand jury and denied recognizing Kelly and Jane in the video. According to Brandon, sometime after he testified in the state grand jury, he had a conversation with McDavid, who told Brandon that McDavid understood that everything went well with his testimony before the grand jury. Jane also lied to the grand jury at Kelly's direction. Around that time, Kelly blackmailed Jane with threats to release letters he had her write containing disparaging, embarrassing, and false information about her videos depicting Jane engaging in humiliating acts. Now, this right here is what fucked. This is what fucked him. Okay, this is what fucked him. This is what creates the RICO right here, because this is the same thing that Azriel testified to. Okay, this is the same thing that Azriel testified to. Okay, so it's really not a way around that. It's not a good way around that one. Okay, it's really not a good way around that. Kelly needed assurances that she loved him and wouldn't turn against him, and from time to time he would remind her of the materials. Okay. All right, and so this right here is this whole, you could throw out everything else before that. These two things that I have highlighted right here, those are the major things that fucked him over. These are the things that fucked him over. Kelly employed both carrot and stick to maintain the secrecy around his relationship with Jane. Kelly provided Jane and Jane's parents with money, gifts in exchange for their silence and for them not to cooperate with law enforcement. Despite these efforts, in 2002, the Cook County State Attorney's Office charged him with 21 counts of child pornography and exploitation related to Jane in video one. Between January 2002 and May 2002, Brandon received approximately $50,000 from Kelly for something other than the work Kelly did for Brandon did for Kelly. According to Brandon at the time, Kelly gave Brandon this money. Brandon did not view it as talking taking money in exchange for lying in the state grand jury, or for keeping quiet about Kelly's relationship with Jane. Looking back, Brandon believed that Kelly and McDavid viewed these payments differently than he did, and that they gave him money to make sure he was on Team Robert, meaning he would not tell the truth about Kelly, Jane, and the tape that the police had. Kelly's state court trial was held May 20th, 2008 and June 13th, 2008. Neither Jane nor her parents testified, and Kelly was ultimately acquitted. At Kelly's 2022 federal trial, the financial records entered into evidence showed that Kelly's company, Bass Productions, issued numerous checks to Brandon's in the months leading up to and after Kelly's 2008 state pornography trial. Well, after Brandon had become aware that Kelly had filmed his minor daughter engaged in sexually explicit conduct. Government Exhibit 411, for example, between February 2007 and May 9, 2008, Kelly paid Brandon $23,300. These payments were made by check. Four of them stated they were loans on the memo check. Additional payments were made to Brandon after Kelly was acquitted on the 2008 trial. June 13, 2008, on June 20th, 2008, Kelly paid Brandon $3,000. McDavid issued on Kelly's behalf a check to Brandon in the amount of $4,792.92 for property taxes. Again, none of these amounts say that these payments, to me, these amounts don't say that this is bribery money. Okay, this is what the government is coming up with, but the amounts don't align with bribery money. If anything, if I was the lawyer, the way that you accredit all of this, Brandon, who we know to be Greg Landfair, we believe that he started blackmailing R. Kelly. And the way, some of the way to get around this shit is, listen, I have a problem. I got sexual perversions and fetishes that ultimately got used against me. And when Greg Lanford came in, true enough, I had sex with his daughter that I later found out was underage. By that time, we had already began engaged in sex. And it wasn't one of those things I could just turn out. For that, I'm wrong for that. And I throw myself at the mercy of the court for that indiscretion. But when you're talking about $3,000, that's not a bribe. When you talk about $47.92, okay, when you talk about $47.92.92, all right, those amounts of money, when they say for property taxes, that amount of money, considering what real estate is in Chicago, that amount of money kind of lines up with property tax. Okay? The government is trying to use the power of the U.S. prosecutor's office to argue that, but that amount of money lines up with that. Even, hey, she got paid $23,300 during this time. Okay, this is before the Obama presidency, that this $23,000, and everybody knows under Republican leadership, the streets eat differently. The streets eat way differently. When the Republicans get in office, nigga, business is booming. Okay, business is booming. All right, under Republican leadership, man, we're gonna make some paper. We're gonna make some quan, some dough, some dust, some Skrilla. All right. Now, keep on moving along. August 26, 2008, McDavid issued another check on Kelly's behalf for Brandon in the amount of $10,000. Okay, on September, McDavid issued a check to Brandon for the sum of $30,000. There is no memo attached to this large lump sum of money. Now, the $10,000, okay, so that's $40,000. All right. That's $40,000. Okay. Now, in 2014, Jane asked Kelly to help her with her rent payments, which were about $1,100 a month. Okay. At first, Kelly refused, but Jane reminded him who she was and all she had given up for him, and what she knew about their sexual history together. He ultimately agreed, and Kelly and Jane started receiving monthly payments from him in 2014. Again, this is a history of extortion by the mother. By the father. Then this is by the daughter. So you got Sparkle, you got Rashona, and you got Greg all extorting this man. Okay, so what this says is that the government, to me, they accredited their own witness, because again, if she was born in, let's just call it 84, okay, she's born in like 1984, 1983, 84. In 2014, 2015, she's 31, 32. Okay, she asked for help on her rent payments. What is help? Okay, what is help? What is help? Okay, what is help? And then she said she reminded him of the sexual relationship that they had. Okay. So, again, if somebody has to remind you of something, then at that point that she's an adult, how are we still arguing? How are we still arguing? How do we still argue that they didn't know? At this point, she's 30 years old. She full well knows. Okay. And so so basically, she went and found an apartment. Then she said, okay, I'm going to have him pay for it. All right. Her testimony was corroborated by documentary evidence showing that as of late 2014, he sent her monthly payments in the amount of $1,100, $1,150. Okay. Her testimony was corroborated by documentary evidence showing that as of late 2014, he sent her monthly payments to the amounts of $1,100 or $1,150. So he was paying her rent. Okay, he was paying her rent. So I mean, in all actuality, like, this was like a prostitution type of relationship, keeping it a bug with you. Some of those payments were annotated with the word settlement, despite the absence of any legal settlement between her and Kelly. At trial, she testified how the tactics, including physical abuse, that Kelly used to control her after his 2008, created fear and financial dependency. She consistently described an abusive and controlling relationship between her and Kelly, continuing even after the 2008 acquittal. And that testimony provided crucial context to reasonably infer that Kelly's rent payment were in fact efforts to continue to buy her silence. Okay, all right. In addition, he obstructed justice by concealing, covering up videos 2 and 3, visual depiction of Kelly's sexual abuse of Jane. Kelly, of course, knew of the existence of those tapes because he created it. And in finding Kelly guilty of counts 2 and 3, the jury found that videos 2 and 3 were transported in interstate commerce within the context of Kelly's efforts to reclaim the videos. The jury heard evidence that included testimony that in and around 2003, Kelly learned that Lisa Van Allen stole the videos from him. Da, 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 da. I ain't reading that shit. All right. Nia met Kelly in 1996 in Atlanta when she was 15 years old. She saw him in the mall, asked for an autograph. He paid for her flight. Okay. I ain't reading all this shit, man. Let me. Okay, all right. Another bitch. Okay, so let's go down here. For the reasons stated below, the sentencing guideline range is 168 months of imprisonment to 212 months. Let me get my calculator out. Let's figure out how many years that is. All right, so. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Let's see here. All right. 210 divided by 12. Okay, so 17 years. Okay, so 17 years. All right. The sentencing guidelines to be considered in this case are those in effect at the time of the offense. Here are the multiple offenses. Fuck all that. Counts 1 through 3. The base offense level is 27. Pursuant to the guidelines, 2 are added to according to the offense. Counts 9, 10, and 12. And fuck all that. And under this definition of fair. But I'm skimming through this shit, y'all. We don't need to group him. There are 6 total groups for each. Multiple offenses. He was sentenced to 30 years imprisonment pursuant to the guideline. The defendant received 3 history points. Accordingly, the defendant's criminal history points equal 3 in the defense criminal history category is 2. A difference. Wow, it appears. In addition to minimum. All right, so the minimum he can get is 10 years. The trial, he saw a series of clips. Okay. Okay, so he used Jane to get more bitches. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let me say it goes figure his ability no section. Oh, store. Knowing is wrong. Knowing. By manufacturing. Okay. My bad, y'all. I'm skimming through this shit because it's 37 pages. International prolific. Hmm. Kelly continues to believe that he is in control of Jane and has the audacity to purport to speak for her, arguing that Jane would have been happy to put her experience behind her until the government revived the case and insisted she cooperate with prosecution, including by inducing her to participate with promises of restitution riches. He makes this argument after hearing Jane speak for herself at trial. Jane explained that she chose to participate in the case because she was exhausted living with his lies. More proof that he has no compassion. His unrelenting abuse of girls and women and his refusal to acknowledge his criminal conduct and the harm that it caused demonstrates he cannot be deterred as a result. The only way to ensure Kelly does not reoffend is to impose a sentence that will keep him in prison for the rest of his life. A review of the factors set forth in the U.S. makes it clear to agree with conduct court resolves merits above guidelines. Sentence of 300 months above and beyond the defendant's egregious crimes. Kelly obstructed justice on multiple occasions in several years. Limited enhancements. Oh, factors. Okay, 300 months. Okay. Mm, mm, All right, so check this out. I knew when I read this, I knew that it had to be written by a woman. Okay, it got written by one of these feminist ass. It got written by a feminist ass woman, man. Um, mm, so they asking for 300 months. He ain't gonna get that shit. Let me see. Let me break down what 300 months is. 300. Let's see. 300 months divided by 12. So 25 years. Okay. He's not gonna get that. He's not gonna get that. He's not gonna get that. What I think he I think he's gonna get 14 years. Okay. I think that he's gonna get 14 years. Because like Bonjing argued the crime only carries at minimum you gotta sentence them to 10 years, and really for the crime itself it's 10 years to 17 and a half years. Okay, so from 10 years to 17 and a half years. All right, so 14 is dead in the square of that. Lennon Weber, he ain't really feeling that shit that they own, for one. But for the two, right? This is for the two, y'all. For the two, you got problems. Okay. And Bonjean was 100% right when she said that the same shit that they are arguing, like you basically use in one case to absolve the other. Okay, you use in one case to clarify and give credence to the other. All right, and so what does that mean, guys? What that means is the way that they get to that 25 and that 30 years is by using the points incurred through the conviction in Eastern District of New York case. The problem with that is that, I mean, you are basically fighting one continuous and consecutive case. They're trying and attempting to use the merits of the latter case to justify the decisions and stuff that are going on here in this case. All right. So they using the Eastern District of New York's case, okay, to say, okay, well, he has all of these criminal points. So we need to jump past the mandatory minimum of 10 and maximum of 17. And we need to jump all the way to 25 years, and he's egregious for this. And then they call for restitution. But again, you said that first off, okay, let's concede to the crime. Okay, a crime happened. He's wrong for that. He got some things that's working against him, but he also has some things that's working for him. Okay, they said that they succumbed to the pressures and things like that. Okay, Well, she got rent payments. She was getting rent payments. He was paying her rent. Now, if your rent is $1,100 and he's paying the whole $1,100 or $1,150 every month, then if he's paying the whole $1,100 or $1,150 every month, then that's a form of restitution. Because it's one thing, like if your rent payment is let's just call it, let's just say it's 1,100. But shit, you got 9. Hey, can you give me 300 to make up on this? All right. That's something different than asking a man to pay the whole rent. Baby, you was being taken care of. Let's keep that a buck. She was being taken care of. All right. And then they say that her life was torn up and she suffered all this physical abuse. But then they go back in their own motion and they say that, okay, he refused. She asked for a rent assistance from him. He refused. Okay. He refused. When he refused the rent assistance, she reminded him that they had sex when she was underage. So you can't have it both ways. She can't be so afraid of him that she so fucked up to the point where she need restitution. But then, oh, you don't want to pay this rent, nigga? Okay, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna go and do this, I'm gonna burn your shit up, nigga. The government is conflating two different issues. I didn't see, I don't have what Bonjean wrote or what Bonjean's motion said, because they just sent me this one. But the government's arguing two sides of the stick. All right, so let's see here. Kelly moves for a judgment of acquittal under the federal rule of criminal procedures. When analyzing the motion for judgment of acquittal, the court reviews the evidence in the light most favorable to the government. A court may only overturn a conviction if the record contains no evidence for which a rational jury could have returned a verdict of guilty. Okay, so that's saying that it's just slim to no chance. Kelly's motion challenges his conviction on all 6 counts. The motion can be divided into 2 parts: conviction on the child pornography counts 1 through 3, and on the inducement counts 9, 10, and 12. Kelly's motion states that he is challenging his conviction with count 11, which he was acquitted of, rather than count 12, which he was convicted of. Upon review of the motion, it appears to the court that Kelly is actually challenging his conviction on count 12. So the court will analyze the argument as to that count. Counts 1 through 3. Counts 1 through 3 on the superseding indictment were all brought under U.S. Title 18, United States Code 2251. The statute penalizes anyone who induces a minor to engage in sexual conduct for the purpose of creating a visual depiction of the conduct. Okay. It requires the depiction to be transported in interstate commerce. So it's reading out what his charges are. Kelly argues that the government did not prove each element of the statute at trial. Specifically, he argues that the government failed to show that he enticed Jane into sexual conduct with the purpose of creating a video. Kelly also argues that the government failed to prove that the videos traveled in interstate commerce. In the alternative, Kelly argues that the government failed to prove that Kelly knew that the videos will be put in interstate commerce. The court disagrees with Kelly's argument. First, There's simple evidence that Kelly induced Jane into sexual conduct. Jane testified about how Kelly gradually persuaded her into sexual activity with him. Jane described how Kelly induced her into making videos, 1 through 3, and that Kelly positioned the camera and told Jane exactly what to do while having sex with him. I must agree. Okay, all right. This I must agree with. Okay, I gotta agree with Judge Greenweb on that. Second, the statute does not require that the sexual conduct be the sole purpose for creating a video. It is enough that creating a visual depiction be the purpose of sexual conduct. It need not to be the sole purpose. All right. Kelly also seemingly argues that there is no commercial purpose associated with the production of these videotapes. The statute does not require that the video be made for any commercial purpose. Congress has ambiguously indicated that the defendant does not need to have a commercial motive to be liable under 2251. Third, the government presented evidence showing that the images and videos 1, 2, and 3 traveled in interstate commerce. Kelly argues that the government was required to show that the physical videos were transported in interstate commerce. The term visual depiction, as used in 2251, is defined in the United States Code. Their visual depiction is defined as data capable of conversion into a visual image and data capable of conversion into a visual image that's been transmitted by any means. Thus, transportation of the data on videos 1, 2, 3 will satisfy the statute, regardless of what medium housed the data. The government produced the testimony establishing that the video one traveled across the country. Specifically, Betty Allen Wang from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children testified that they received a series depiction called the Panel Room series with law enforcement agencies across the country. Miss Allwang also testified she compared the Panel Room series with 1 and 3 that she concluded the Panel Room series from video one. Now, um, this right here, I must concede that this right here shows that they wanted him because um to me this is a this is where the law needs to be changed because in this particular case it's actually it's actually somebody else, you know. It's actually somebody else that actually was responsible for the interstate commerce part. Kelly argues the government's evidence that videos 2 and 3 traveled in interstate commerce is insufficient. The government put on testimony from Charles Freeman, Lisa Van Allen, Keith Murrows in establishing that videos 2 and 3 traveled in interstate commerce. Kelly argues that Charles Freeman and Lisa Van Allen testimony was rejected whole cloth by jury. Motion for judgment of acquittal at 14. Kelly's evidence for this assertion is that he was acquitted on counts 4, 6, 7, 8 in the indictment. Um, okay. Kelly argues that by acquitting him on these charges, the jury necessarily concluded that the tapes acquired by Lisa Van Allen and Freeman did not contain child pornography. This argument does not hold water. Counts 1 through 3, count 4 was brought under the same statute. Count 6 through 8 was brought under the same thing. Conspiracy to receive child pornography. Um, okay. Let's see here. If the government fails to prove even one element, the jury cannot convict. When reading this verdict, the jury did not explain why it chose to acquit Kelly of counts 4 through 8. It did not explain that it was acquitting Kelly of those counts because it found 2, 3, and 4 did not contain child pornography. In fact, it's quite the opposite. By convicting Kelly of counts 2 and 3, the jury communicated that it found that videos 2 and 3 contained child pornography and were transported in interstate commerce. The court found no reason to disturb the jury's verdict now. In the alternative, Kelly argues that he was not aware that this video would be transported in interstate commerce. This argument fails. It's clear that the knowledge is only one of the ways that the statute is satisfied. Okay. Actual transportation also satisfies the argument. Here, the government proved that the government proved that, okay, the government proved, here the government proved that videos 1 through 3 were actually transported in interstate commerce. Thus, Kelly's knowledge is irrelevant. Kelly's motion for a judgment of acquittal on counts 1 through 3 is denied. Counts 9 through 11 were all brought under 2422B, which prohibits the ability to it prohibits the ability to give me 1 second, y'all. Okay. Right. Give me 1 second, y'all. All right, so now, do some minor. Kelly was convicted of using the telephone to induce and entice Jane, Nia, and Pauline into criminal sexual conduct. Kelly's argument on these counts is twofold. First, he did not use a facility of interstate commerce. Second, he did not induce the minors in question, Jane, Pauline, or Nia, to, fuck by the phone. First, the telephone is a facility of interstate commerce, even when it's used in interstate fashion. All right. Interstate telephone calls involve the use of facility of interstate commerce. Internal quotation marks omitted, stating interstate use of a telephone will qualify as interstate commerce in a different context. Secondly, the government provided ample evidence to show that R. Kelly used the telephone to induce Jane, Pauline, and Nina to engage in sexual activity. The Seventh Circuit Court was found child sexual abuse can be accomplished by several means and is often carried out through a period of grooming. Here, the government elicited testimony Kelly used phone to groom and to commute sexual acts with him. I don't like the word groom. Groom is a far stretch, okay? Did he? I mean, come on. Illegal sexual acts. Jane testified the telephone conversation started innocuously but progressing to more sexual topics. After some time, Kelly persuaded Jane to have phone sex, which turned to physical sex. Nia testified she had regular phone calls with him, enticed her into conduct when they met in person. Looking at the evidence in the light most favorable to the government, the court finds that there was enough evidence to sustain a guilty verdict on all 6 counts. Kelly moves for a new trial in the Federal Criminal Procedure 33. If a judge believes that a serious danger and miscarriage of justice has occurred, that is, an innocent person has been convicted, he has the power to set the verdict aside. United States versus Morales, Circuit Court 1977. Kelly argues that he's entitled to a new trial because the government violated its obligation of NAPU versus Illinois. Da, 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 da. NAPU stands for the principle that the government may not knowingly use false testimony to obtain a conviction. A defendant is entitled to a new trial in NAPU if there was false testimony. The government knew or should have known it was false, the likelihood thereof. False testimony must bear a direct relationship to the defendant's guilt or innocence. Kelly makes 2 separate motions on the pew. First about Dr. Daryl Turner's testimony, second about Jane's testimony. The government's expert witness, Dr. Daryl, testified that his hourly rate was $250. On October 27, 2022, the government sent a letter to Kelly's counsel informing them that Dr. Turner's rate was for the case was $450 per hour. The government should have known about this discrepancy as the contract was executed prior to the trial. Thus, the question before the trial was whether Dr. Turner's testimony about his race directly related to the jury's decision to convict Kelly on all 6 counts. The court finds no likelihood Dr. Turner's testimony about his race affected the jury's decision. He states he had jurors known Dr. Turner actively misled them. Juries would likely have rejected his testimony outright. Motion for a new trial based on that does not explain how he reaches his conclusion, nor does he cite any case law in support of his position. The law in this circuit does not support Kelly's position. United States versus Freeman, affirming the district court's decision to grant a new trial when the government star witness testified falsely. The government knew about it. The government relied on the testimony securely. Da 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 da. Where the case shit got changed. Here is not clear to the government what's going on, Courtney Love. Here is not clear to the government how the false testimony about Dr. Turner's rape Kelly's guilt bears on Kelly's guilt. Dr. Turner had no personal involvement in the case. He was not familiar with Kelly or witnesses in the case. He testified genuinely about grooming and sexual behavior. As such, the government's cases may. All right, now I'm coming down here to Rashona. Jane, one of the victims, testified she was undecided whether she was going to seek restitution. Kelly argued that this statement is false. In support, Kelly points to Jane's private attorney's billing records, which contain 3 entries discussing restitution. It's not clear to the court which of any of the new NUPU requirements will satisfy her, simply because Jane and her attorney considered the possibility of restitution. Okay. Because they considered possible does not mean she lied about in her testimony that she was undecided. Her testimony was not that she was not intended to pursue restitution. Kelly alleges that the government knew Jane's statement is false because Jane's attorney discussed restitution with the government in 2020. Again, nothing in that record suggests she was going to pursue restitution, that it was a possibility. He argues that this is false testimony. was directly related to his conviction because it goes to Jane's credibility generally. Kelly fails to specify further, only stating that Jane had motivation to share her stories in ways that were not entirely honest because she stood to gain notification, restitution, which could have been affected by the jury, by judgment of the jury. Motion for a new trial based on her testimony. The court finds Kelly has not met the requirements of NAPU, and in this case, nor is this a case that requires a new trial in the interest of justice. Kelly's motion for a new trial are denied. For the reasons stated herein, the motion is denied. So, basically, let me give y'all my input. Okay, so all right, so all right now, to be honest, this is the part where we gotta be extremely honest here. I don't know if Bonjean is the right attorney to fight this case. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, again, he probably should have had Greenberg. He probably should have retained Greenberg. He needs a lawyer that's a little bit scrappier. He needs a lawyer that's a little scrappier than Bonjean. Okay, he needs somebody that's willing to rock the boat to the point of tipping the boat over. And I just don't feel like Bonjean is I don't think that Bonjean is that attorney. The reason why I feel like this is because when I just read that, and again I skipped through a lot of it. No, Jennifer Bonjean is his attorney. The problem with it is that a lot of it is weak. Like the arguments are weak to state that, hey, this ain't interstate commerce. Well, the telephone, like to me, the arguments are very weak, and quite honestly, he would have been better off fucking with attorneys where it's their he would have been better off fucking with attorneys where it's their he would have been better off fucking with some law students. Real talk. I really think that he had a miscarriage of justice, and he probably would have been better off fucking with some kids that was in law school rather than these attorneys, because like these attorneys are out here fighting this case like they punch drunk and shit. All right, these attorneys out here fighting this case all punch drunk. Like, it's weak. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like they throwing punches and shit. It's nothing behind the punches. It's not like okay. Where he says like, okay, They argue it's not interstate or it's interstate. That's fine. But here's the issue. An attorney should have caught the fact that, hey, man, that phone, like, it's like, man, you write motions, man, that you know ain't gonna make it. You know this shit not gonna make it. And when they are arguing, you know, hey, it's restitution. Hey, he's cash strapped. He's broke. And what is he restoring? What is he restoring? You know, if she was in control enough to ask for, if she was in control enough to go out and get rent payments and all of that stuff, she don't need restitution. Okay, she does not need restitution. What is he reviving? According to them, okay, he got bribery money. Restitution and bribery are basically the same vehicle. They are basically the same vehicle. Okay, bribery is before the crime, restitution is after the conviction. But it's the same thing. Okay, restitution is, I did irreparable harm to you, and you got nothing out of the deal. And one of the most egregious miscarriages of justice and stuff is the fact that, okay, you had this miscarriage of justice, if you will. But now that you had this miscarriage of justice, then what do we do now? Okay. What do we do now? Okay. We had a miscarriage of justice. Now what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Okay. So you got to ask yourself this. Okay. Rashona is basically saying she got the short end of the stick with R. Kelly. Okay. All right. She got the short end of the stick. Okay. Your mom, your dad got a career. Your aunt got a career. Your dad, your mom, you got rent payments. I think that, honestly, if we talking about restitution, he overpaid you motherfuckers trying to avoid, you know what I'm saying? Him trying to avoid basically in him trying to avoid jail time. I think that he overpaid his burden, in my opinion, trying to avoid jail time. When you look at the fact that shit, man, they got basically $100,000. You know, they got $100,000. Come on, man. And then she got other government set asides for the purpose or in exchange for her testimony. She has been more than compensated. Okay, to me, like when they saying she when they are saying it's gonna take a lifetime for her to recover. Man, that girl done had a baby. She out here, she done bust the pussy open. She talking about some, oh, give me that dick, daddy. This pussy wide open for you. That's not R. Kelly, okay? That's not R. Kelly. That's her. It don't matter if she's 14, 45, 6, 7, 8 years old. All right, to call me daddy, that's R. Kelly. This pussy wide open for you, stick it in. You said you was gonna stick it in when it's wide open. That's her. Okay. That's her. So what y'all gotta do is, man, in all honesty, y'all gotta get Kells to shut the fuck up, man. This the only way he gonna be able to get up out of jail. First, he gotta shut the fuck up. The second is all of these famous ass high priced lawyers, get rid of these motherfuckers, man. All right, because if a paid lawyer get you 30 years for you know what I'm saying? Sexual assault at the max, this whole thing should have been at max 14 years. All right, I think that's what Jared let's see. Subway Jared. Okay. All right. Now, okay, he's from Indianapolis here. All right. Now. Now, okay. So, let's see here. Okay. All right. So, Jared, okay. So Jared from Subway, he got 12 and a half years in prison. Jared from Subway got 12 and a half years in prison. All right. I'm going to say R. Kelly should have got 14. All right, let's go to 14 and 14 max. So now, he got, okay, now, let's see, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so he got 15 years, 8 months. In a minimum of 13 years. But he has the possibility of 13 years and time off for good behavior. All right. So he had a $1.4 million restitution. Now, Okay. Okay. So 13 years. Okay. Time off for good behavior. He about to get out. Jared from Subway, he'll be home in like 3 or 4 years. Okay, so all right, he went in on December 15, 2015. All right, and his earliest release date is March 24th, 2029. All right, so and yeah, he's out there in Colorado. All right, so the sentence should be 14 years. 14 years concurrently. But again, my advice to the Kells support group, um, the folks who are diehard Kells fans, is that y'all need to get through to the people who make the decisions, man. And my advice personally is that he needs my personal advice is that he needs somebody else, man. Let's just keep it in real. He needs yeah. My advice is shit. He needs some different he needs to get some law students, man. All of these older like I say, man, Bonjean admitted to too much. Okay. She conceded to too much. Second, her motions are they kind of lackluster. And third, is man, listen, dude, it's some wild shit. Okay, it's just some wild shit, man. You got different folks saying different shit, man. You got different folks saying different shit, man. It's inconclusive, man. You got information all over the place. So, my advice is man, he need to get some young, scrappy law students that's really looking to research this case. Kind of like on that movie, Hurricane Carter. Okay. On that movie, Hurricane Carter. All right. Okay. That old Denzel movie. Okay. All right. So, you need some folks like Hurricane Carter, all right? Like you know, I encourage y'all to I encourage y'all, man, to go find that movie. It's called The Hurricane. It's a Denzel movie. Yeah, it's a Denzel movie. All right. It's a Denzel movie. I encourage y'all to Oh, let me see if I can find it. All right, here we go. All right, go check this movie out, y'all. Go check this movie out. He need to find some people like the ones that came and got Hurricane Carter out of jail. All right. You know, they need to find somebody like that. All these lawyers, these motherfuckers, man, they saying pay me, pay me, pay me. These motherfuckers, they not doing a good job, man. They not doing no good job, man. Like, you know, saying really, you know, hey, yeah, you need a lawyer with some clout, with a name. But nigga, these motherfuckers, man, they done got paid. Nigga, what the fuck am I paying you for? A 30-year conviction? Hell no, motherfucker. Hey, shit, nigga, the law students could have got 2 or 3 of these charges off, nigga. Damn. Damn. Nigga, you done pay somebody, nigga, to get 30 years? Shit. Bitch, you better not send another motherfucking receipt to my jail, nigga. Please. Bitch, for 30. I gave y'all 30 years of my career. This how y'all want to do me? What Gail King say? He's lying. He's lying. Okay. I gave y'all 30 years of my career. This how you bitches want to do me? You motherfuckers. Nah, I'm just playing with y'all, man. Look. Man, listen, y'all, I'm finna watch BMF. I'm gonna watch BMF. All right, you know, listen, man. My diabetes doctor told me I gotta start smoking weed. So, all right, I ain't smoking no more. But all right, so about to log off. Queen, everybody. Courtney Love. Where some of my Lil Mo, if you still up in here, shit, let's watch the hurricane. All right, let's watch the hurricane, man. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. All right, let's talk about it. Let's watch the hurricane, man. We'll reconvene tomorrow. We'll talk about it. How about that, y'all? All right, so fuck it. Let me take y'all to the bridge, man. Let me take y'all to the bridge, man. Hold on 1 second.